welcome back to Tactical Talks. So, I want to talk about something that's kind of touchy with some people. I get asked this a lot. I've gone over this a lot. I've talked to people a lot about this. I've experienced this a lot. So, something I get asked is, how often should I clean my guns? And I know the thumbnail says stop cleaning your guns, but that doesn't mean stop cleaning them altogether. Now, what I wanted to kind of impose on you guys is, or I guess update you guys on, I was in the Marine Corps, for a lot of you that don't know, and we used to go out to the range and we would pump hundreds of rounds through our rifles. Going out for qualification, you would do, your 2 practice days and your qualification day. Then you would do like your field training, your combat style shooting, and we would give them a quick wipe down. It wasn't like, punching the bore every single time, scrubbing every single time. The more rounds you put through a weapon, well, not necessarily the more, but as you put rounds through these weapons, they start to get a certain amount of buildup. They starting to get a certain amount of carbon and just different things on these weapons that, in a sense, help with the functionality and help with the consistency of that shot. Now, I'm not talking thousands and thousands of rounds. Obviously, that's going to change the velocity. It's going to change your accuracy. It's going to change all these things over time. But if you are someone who doesn't do that style of shooting, doesn't go out to the range and shoot hundreds, if not thousands of rounds in a sitting, you don't need to clean your gun every time you get home. And I know for a lot of us, that's kind of like that therapeutic. I got home. This is my relaxed time. I'm going to watch TV. I'm going to sit there. I'm going to scrub my weapon. I get it. I enjoy doing, cleaning some of my weapons. Not all of them. I don't like taking everything apart. But you don't have to do it every time. Now, in saying you don't have to, I've also been asked, can I clean my weapon too much? And the answer to that is yes. If you are someone who is let's just say a weekly range shooter, and you go to the range every single week and you scrub that weapon every single week, depending on the tools that you're using, because a lot of people unfortunately don't use the correct cleaning equipment. It's just whatever they have laying around the house. Now, rags and stuff, that part isn't a big deal. But when it comes to all these parts, let's say for a rifle, to scrape carbon off the bore, sometimes even punch the bore. I've seen guys, use a screwdriver and they're sitting there pushing stuff down their barrels, trying to, get these little cleaning rods out or trying to get the little cleaning squares out. And they're doing all these things thinking that they're helping their weapon, not realizing that if you're not using the correct tools, all you're doing is marring that weapon. You're causing issues in that weapon, you know what I mean? And that's going to end up causing failure. So, yes, you can clean your weapons too much. Just imagine you're putting chemical over chemical over chemical. Now, lubricants is fine, but some people, I know back in the Marine Corps, we were lazy in a sense. We were trying to find the easy way around doing things because we didn't like cleaning the weapons the way that they had to be cleaned. People used to use brake cleaner. People used to use these degreasers and things that weren't necessarily meant for the weapon. Put it on there because it pulled off all of the carbon and it pulled off, the powder all over everything and the buildup all over everything. And imagine some people carry on those habits just because they did it that one time or they did it those couple of times or whatever their experience was. So imagine putting those chemicals on your weapon over and over and over and over. It's going to mess up your weapon. So if you're a competition shooter, and by no means am I an expert on this, I want to kind of put that out there again. I'm not an expert on this. I'm just telling you my personal opinion, my personal experiences, talking to guys who have done different things. I got buddies that are competition shooters. They don't even clean their weapons every time. Competition shooters, I would recommend between every 2 or 3 matches, clean your weapon out, depending on whatever your weapon is. But ensure that you are always lubricating your weapon. Now, that's different from cleaning it, so make sure that you always do lubricate it. Home defense weapons. If all you do with that weapon is leave it sitting there to maybe shoot it one day, you obviously do not have to clean that weapon as often. Now, I would say maybe once a month, maybe once every 2 months, go over that weapon, take everything apart. Not necessarily everything, but so what I mean by that is take your magazine apart, remove those rounds from sitting in that magazine so the spring doesn't get depressed and get damaged, because if you leave those rounds sitting for weeks, months, even years on end, that damage to that spring, the spring's gonna relearn and reconfigure itself, and it's going to stay compressed. So you're not going to have the same amount of tension pushing back up on that magazine to push that round as hard as it needs to be pushed up in order to fire that next round. So with that, I would say every month or two, take it apart, you know, pull your springs back out, wipe everything down, and then again, lubricate the weapon. If you are just a range shooter, I mean, depending on how many rounds you put through, I would say almost close to maybe every 1,000 rounds, actually scrub everything out and clean everything out. Sorry, I'm getting over this dang sickness. And that's kind of it for that. Like I said, if you do any other kind of shooting outside of that, where you're shooting hundreds, if not thousands of rounds every single time, well then obviously, yes, I recommend cleaning your weapon a little more often. But just for most people that watch this video, most people with guns in general, we're range shooters. We go out to the range every now and then when we get time. Some of us are competition shooters. And then, like I said, a lot of them, people own guns and they don't get to go to the range as often as they'd like. And the weapons end up being more of a home defense style weapon. So you don't have to sit there and take your gun apart every week, sit there, scrub that thing every week, clean it every week. It's just not necessary. So one of the things I wanted to show you guys is this little deal right here is a little AR cleaning kit. It says M4, M16, 5.56. You know, it has everything on there. Has the NSN. I got this when I was still in the Marine Corps, and I really haven't used this a lot because, like I said, I really don't clean my weapon that often. The AR that I do shoot most often is my department issue weapon, and when I shoot that, they want you to clean it afterwards, so I just usually give that a good wipe down. But I don't go as in depth as I would for a full-on cleaning. So this little kit opens up. Up here, you have this is like a defogger. If you have any kind of optic on there, there's CLP in here. There is Q-tips in here, little cotton swab deals in there. These are the pieces of the rod in there, and these are a hardened plastic. That way it's not metal, you're not marring anything up. On the other side, have all your little bore tools, the brushes, the little eyelet to put your cotton swab, or not cotton swabs, I'm sorry. I can't think of the word right now. Your little cleaning squares on there. It's got this little range flag deal right here. You put that in the bore to indicate that your weapon actually is safe, to show, you know, not only yourself but other people that while you're cleaning it, there's not just a loaded weapon sitting there waiting for an accident to happen. There's a little brush in here to scrub everything down, and then I don't know how hard that is to see. There's the little snake piece right there to feed everything down your bore. So everything comes in this very small package. It's the correct tools. These really aren't that expensive. I'll try to leave a link down below to a version of this that they have on Amazon. They're really cool, really nice to have. I usually have this clipped on my range bag. So when I go out to the range, for whatever reason, if I have any issues, I can take everything apart at that point and then review it from there. But again, this video is nice, short and sweet, kind of just a question that popped up, and I figured I would answer a couple questions as far as that goes. Stop cleaning your weapon so often. It's not necessary. These guns were built and tested, you know, to manage the amount of rounds that normal people put through them. Like I said, if you are special division, special ops, military, whatever the case is, if you are doing an excessive amount of shooting, obviously this video doesn't apply to you, but for your everyday shooter, your gun was meant to be shot. You know, you'll see a lot of guns, when people are selling guns, stuff like that, they'll ask you, well, how many rounds do you have through them? Because they want to know if they're even broken in or not. A gun is just like anything else. It needs to be broken in to a certain extent for it to function at its highest capacity. Part of that process is having some rounds through it. Part of that process is being a little bit dirty. You know, believe it or not, that actually helps your gun in a sense. So it is what it is, nice and simple. I know there was no guns in the video. I got guns everywhere. I'm still working on the Glock build. I got the whole lower finished, so I'll show you guys that here soon. I'm just waiting on ordering the slide. Obviously, I'm not rich, so I got to get some money together. Gonna be doing a video this month, hopefully, blowing some stuff up, so that should be pretty cool. And then I want to make a big shout out, or send a big shout out to my buddy Albert. He took the Patreon MVP of the month That is our Patreon giveaway that I do. If you are a $5 tier Patreon member, then you are entered every month to win whatever giveaway that I'm doing that month. This last month was a 1911 holster from Blade Tech, the Wolfpack patch, and then a Wolfpack decal. So kind of a really cool deal. That was the first one that I did. My buddy Albert's been supporting me and really everything that I've done, you know, trying to put myself out there and bring good content to you guys. He's always been there as far as subscribing. He was my very first Patreon member. So it was kind of cool that whenever I put these names in there, and it was only 3 names as far as my Patreon right now, but when I put the names in there, his name was the first one to pop up. So well deserved. Thanks again, man. I really appreciate it. Your stuff's going to be mailed out here soon. You guys can go on to Patreon, and I know I've talked about this in the last couple of videos, and I'm going to keep talking about this because I keep kind of updating things and learning more about it. So you can go on Patreon. If you do the $5 a month tier, you get exclusive content. You get this one-on-one chat with myself. Things that I don't post on here, I post on Patreon, so you guys get even more content, as well as content before the regular YouTube family does. And then the $5 tier enters you in a giveaway every month. Possible of winning just, you know, anything that I decide I want to give away that month. Now there is a $3 tier, which is a little less expensive, obviously, by $2. You get everything that the $5 tier gets, with the exception of being put in the giveaway. So 100% up to you guys. If you guys want to go out there and check it out, I definitely appreciate it if you do. Thank you for supporting the channel. It's just fun, you know what I mean? I enjoy doing what I'm doing. I'm having a lot of fun with it. If you guys have any ideas for topics on Tactical Talks, I know people have, you know, commented down below before. My boy Ant Diesel always comments, and he always has really good ideas. So if you guys have ideas for Tactical Talks, comment down below, and then we'll see. We'll just kind of add it in the mix. So thanks again for watching. I appreciate it. I'll see you guys on the next one.